Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. You know how sometimes you go down these internet rabbit holes and find these communities you never even knew existed? Well, today that's what we're doing. We're diving deep into the world of online communities. But not just the ones that are easy to see on the surface.
Right.
We're going deeper to uncover the hidden connections inside them.
Yeah, it's kind of like how if you were to judge a city like solely on its roadmap,
Okay.
you'd see the streets, right? You'd see how everything's connected, but you'd miss out on all those like hidden gems,
Yeah.
all those cool local hangouts that actually make a place unique.
Right.
And online communities, they're kind of the same way. There's way more to them than what you just see on the surface.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. How do we actually go about uncovering these hidden gems, these hidden communities?
So today, we're diving into this fascinating master's thesis by Ricardo Munoz Cancino.
Okay.
And he tackles this really cool concept called overlapping communities.
Overlapping communities.
Yeah. So like traditional methods, they just focused on, who connects with who online.
Right.
But people online, like yourself, they have all these different interests, right?
Of course, yeah.
So like you might be part of one group for work, another for like, I don't know, cooking,
Right.
and then maybe even like a secret society of sock puppet enthusiasts. Who knows?
Okay, now that's a community I need to know more about. But seriously, how do we even begin to untangle the hidden structure of these online communities?
So Cancino's research, it actually dives into this by looking at a real online forum called Plexalandia.
Plexaland.
Yeah, it's a community for DIY audio enthusiasts. So think like building your own amps and speakers completely from scratch.
Wait, hold on. People are out there like building their own amplifiers? I had no idea. See, always learning something new on the deep dive.
Right.
But how do you even begin to like unravel the hidden structures in a community this niche?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Cancino uses this statistical method called LDA, which stands for latent Dirichlet allocation.
LDA. Okay.
And he uses that to analyze all the different content within the forum.
Okay, LDA. That sounds pretty technical. Can you break it down a bit?
Okay, imagine you're trying to understand like a conversation at a dinner party,
Okay.
but you can only hear like the most frequently used words.
Right.
You might pick up on words like food or delicious or wine, but you wouldn't get any of the nuances.
Right, yeah.
You wouldn't know if they were debating like Italian versus French cuisine,
Right.
or if they were actually celebrating someone's like, amazing culinary skills.
Right, it's just picking up on those surface level words.
Exactly.
Not the actual meaning behind it.
And LDA helps us move beyond those frequently used words and actually understand the deeper themes that are hidden within those conversations.
So instead of just looking at who replies to whom on the forum, LDA digs into the content itself to find those hidden connections based on shared interests, even if people aren't directly like interacting with each other on the forum.
Exactly. It's all about recognizing that like two people who are having this really passionate discussion about like the best wood for speaker cabinets,
Okay.
those two are part of a community, even if they never actually directly engage with each other on the forum.
It's like realizing you have that like secret language with someone
Right.
based on like shared inside jokes or like super obscure movie references, but here it's like a passion for high fidelity sound.
Right, exactly.
But how does the algorithm actually use all those shared interests to map out these hidden communities?
So this is where the real magic happens.
Okay.
Cancino, he developed two new algorithms.
Okay.
The SLTA, that's the speaker listener topic propagation algorithm, and then the TPA, or the topic propagation algorithm.
Okay.
And so imagine these algorithms kind of like gossip spreading through a network. But instead of rumors, it's actually about those shared interests.
I like that.
And that's what gradually strengthens those connections between all those like-minded users.
Okay, now I am really hooked. We've got LDA doing its word cloud magic, these gossip algorithms spreading shared interests. But before we go any further and dive into the findings, let's talk a little bit more about this Plexandia.
Sure.
What makes it the perfect testing ground for this type of research?
So Plexalandia, it's kind of a researcher's dream. It's been around for over 10 years and has this really passionate user base. And all those users, they generate a massive amount of data.
Yeah.
And the best part is, it's not just about amps.
Oh.
They get into all sorts of stuff, from the super technical nitty-gritty of amp modifications to even the nuances of using different types of wood for building speaker cabinets.
Wow.
It's got this surprising breadth of topics.
Yeah, I never would have thought that there would be these like heated debates about the best wood to use for a speaker cabinet in an audiophile community.
Right.
It's amazing.
Exactly. And that's kind of what makes Plexlandia perfect for this type of analysis.
Okay.
The sheer diversity of conversation.
Right.
Combined with the fact that this community's been around for so long.
Yeah.
It creates this really rich data set that's perfect for testing out these algorithms.
So we've got the community, we've got our algorithms, but how do we actually measure if these algorithms are actually doing a good job? Like, how do we know if they're finding meaningful communities and not just randomly grouping people together?
So that's where this idea of modularity comes in.
Modularity.
Yeah, think of it like a quality control check for the algorithm. Modularity basically measures how well-defined and distinct the groups are that the algorithm identifies.
Okay.
So a high modularity score, that means that the algorithm's doing a good job of finding those really tight clusters of like-minded users, those hidden communities within the larger forum. It's like it's filtering out all that noise and making sure you're connecting with the people who really share your passions, not just ending up in some random internet crowd.
Right, right. So a high modularity score, that's what we want, right? That means the algorithm's doing its job. So we've got the LDA, we've got the gossip algorithms, we've got this modularity score. It's all starting to come together. What did Cancino actually find out about Plexlandia?
So one of the most interesting findings was how important this idea of semantic filtering was.
Semantic filtering. Okay, now I'm picturing like a high-tech spam folder, but for like words? What is that?
Okay, so think about it this way.
Okay.
In any online forum, you've got different layers of conversation, right?
Right.
Some of those threads are going to be super laser focused on a very specific topic, and then others are more like just casual chatter.
Right, just people hanging out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Semantic filtering, it's kind of like filtering out all that background noise.
Okay.
So you can zero in on the conversations that are really going to reveal those shared passions and that expertise.
So it's like fine-tuning your radio to try to find your favorite station.
Exactly.
You got to get rid of all that static to get to the good stuff.
Exactly. And what Cancino found was that when they used this semantic filtering on Plexlandia, the accuracy of the community detection went way up. It skyrocketed. Yeah. It's like the algorithm could finally isolate those really passionate communities.
Wow. Makes you wonder what hidden communities are lurking right under the surface of all the online spaces that we use every single day, right?
Right.
But this whole idea of filtering by interest, it makes me think like, are all online communities created equal?
That is a really good question.
Yeah.
And it actually brings us to another really interesting aspect of Cancino's research, which is the distinction between communities of practice, or VCOPs, and then communities of interest, VCOIs.
Okay, hold on. I'm sensing a pattern here.
Lots of acronyms.
Way too many acronyms.
Yeah.
VCOE, VKOI. Break it down for me. What's the difference?
So basically, a community of practice, it's all about shared knowledge and then active collaboration. So it's where people are coming together, not just to chat, but to learn from each other, to work on their skills together. Kind of like those DIY audio files we were talking about in Plexlandia.
So it's less about casual conversation and more about like rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty.
Exactly. A community of interest, on the other hand, that's more about shared passions and discussions. Think of it like a really lively book club. You're there because you love books, you love exchanging ideas,
Right.
but you're not necessarily trying to all become professional writers together.
So it's like a VCOP is like a workshop and then a VCOI that's more like a really interesting debate.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, cool.
And what's really cool is that Cancino's research suggests that these algorithms, they might actually be able to tell the difference between these two just based on those modularity scores we were talking about earlier.
Wait, really? Just by looking at how well-defined the communities are, the algorithm can tell if it's a bunch of collaborators or if it's a bunch of really passionate discussers.
That seems to be what the initial findings suggest.
Wow.
Yeah, it's still early, but the potential here is huge.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to identify those online spaces where knowledge sharing and collaboration, where those are most likely to flourish.
It's like finding those communities where people's passions can be translated into action, right?
Exactly.
Where shared interests become those building blocks for creating things, for innovating.
Exactly.
Wow. This is kind of blowing my mind. We've gone from analyzing online forums to like potentially revolutionizing the way that we learn and collaborate online.
And it all comes back to that power of content, right?
Yeah.
Like by actually looking at what people are talking about online.
Yeah. Right.
We can gain a much richer understanding of how these online communities actually function, what motivates those members, and ultimately where the potential for real meaningful connection actually lies.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as analyzing online conversations could unlock so much potential, like you said, for education, for innovation, maybe even for building a better internet overall, right? But this all started with this deep dive into a single online forum, right? So where do we actually go from here?
Well, I think that's kind of the beauty of this kind of research, is that it just opens up all these possibilities. Like Gansino, he focused on online forums.
Right.
But imagine applying these algorithms to all of social media.
Oh, wow, yeah.
To the comment sections on news articles, even to online games.
You could be mapping the DNA of how people interact online. Right.
Imagine the insights that we could gain from that.
Yeah.
Like how people cluster around these shared interests, how information spreads online, how public opinion is even shaped.
Exactly. And it's not just about understanding these communities as they are now, but it's about what we can do with this knowledge in the future.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to spot those online spaces where misinformation is just running rampant, or being able to pinpoint those key people who might actually be able to bridge the divide between these super polarized groups online.
It's like we're creating this whole new toolkit for navigating just how complex the internet is, right? Using data to actually understand each other better, to collaborate more, and maybe even have a little bit more empathy for each other.
I like that.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. And the best part is that this analytical approach, it's not just limited to the digital world. We can apply these principles to offline social networks too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, think about the connections that people make at their workplace or at a university.
Right.
We could use this to figure out who the people are that really drive innovation, to understand how knowledge spreads within a company.
Yeah.
And we could even create environments that are more inclusive and collaborative for everyone.
It's like we're taking the best parts of online community analysis and using it to improve our offline lives as well. So we could use this to build stronger teams, to get rid of those silos that always seem to pop up in organizations.
Right.
We could even totally reimagine the way we think about education and community building in the real world.
It all comes back to this idea that connection is at the heart of everything we do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's online or offline. If we can understand how and why people connect, that's the key to creating a better future for everyone. A future that's more collaborative, more innovative, and honestly, just more fulfilling for everyone.
I love that. Well, what a thought-provoking journey this has been. We started by going deep into the world of online communities, uncovered these hidden connections, and I think we've emerged with this whole new perspective on the power of content and connection. And for those of you listening, we want to leave you with this. What hidden communities are you a part of? How do your own passions and interests connect you to others in ways that you maybe never even imagined? Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep diving deep.